Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us in the second anniversary celebration of Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR. We hope that you all are doing well and staying safe, and hope that you will get vaccinated yourself in case you are not. So today we have a very special guest with us. He is Anthony Goldbloom. He is Kaggle's CEO, joining us straight from San Francisco. Thanks, Anthony, for joining us live and being a part of second anniversary celebrations of Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR.
Thank you very much for having me, and congratulations on such an exciting and thriving meetup group that you have created.
Thank you. So, this event would be more towards the evolution of data science communities that you have seen, and how the world is transforming towards data science, and how the communities are supporting, right? But before that, I would love to explore how has been your personal journey of data science, and any story about how you came up with this fancy name Kaggle. So, like a
Sure.
lot of folks have a question around that, like.
Sure, I can answer both. So my training, I'm from Australia originally. So maybe we can talk about cricket at the end of this stream.
Mhm.
But I'm from Australia originally. I went to Melbourne University and I studied economics and econometrics. So my background is statistics. And my first job out of college was working for the Australian government. It was for the Australian Treasury, and then after that, it was the Reserve Bank of Australia. And what I was doing was forecasting GDP, inflation, unemployment. So that was my day job. I became really interested in data mining, machine learning, and I would spend the evenings starting to work on coding up Kaggle. Where the idea from Kaggle came from was there was an academic conference, actually still exists, called KDD. And they used to host every year a competition called the KDD Cup. And if you did well in that competition, you got to present at the conference. And I always thought it was a very elegant idea for how you decide who gets to speak at the conference. You can submit peer review papers, or you can win a competition. And it seemed like a competition is a more objective way to judge who had a good algorithm. And so the early idea behind Kaggle was to bring what was happening already in academia into industry. So that's how my background and how Kaggle got started. The name Kaggle, I built an algorithm that iterated over phonetic domain names, and looked for most .com domain names were already taken. But basically, it just gave me a long list of all the domain names that sounded like a real word that still existed. So I bought maybe about 20 different domain names. They were pretty cheap, I think $5 or $10 a year. And so I still have a lot of .com domain names, but Kaggle was one of them. And I sent out an email to some family and friends asking them to vote on some of the domain names that I had purchased, and Kaggle got the most votes.
Oh, nice. So it was really great, like how you transformed yourself to data science, and how this name Kaggle came. That's definitely interesting to hear. And congrats and thanks for building Kaggle as a platform, because it has been really helpful to a lot of data science aspirants and a lot of data scientists who would love to practice their skills on data science, right? So thanks for that. And moving ahead to, like, as we now know that you started Kaggle and how the journey of naming Kaggle started. But when you started Kaggle, right, like when you started Kaggle, like maybe you can discuss about the year or the timeline when you started. And at that time, might be data science was not that boom, like not that a domain of boom that it's today. Like every other college student is thinking about doing data science, or is trying to explore data science at least. But it was not the case when you started. So, like, how has been your journey in building Kaggle, and like what things you thought, like what are the major issues which might Kaggle help you to solve, to get a transformation in the world?
Yeah. So I think I might have mentioned this before, but Kaggle started in 2010. And I would say the word data science really started to become popular in around 2012. But even before the word started becoming popular, um, you had a lot of different disciplines using the same, trying to do the same kind of things, but they all had different names. You had econometricians, you had statisticians, you had bioinformaticians, you had data miners, and they all had different techniques, but they were all trying to do the same thing. And so one of the early accomplishments from Kaggle was uh, we helped make it clear which techniques worked best on what sort of problems. In the very early days of Kaggle, it quickly became very clear that random forest won almost every competition. And it's funny because the computer scientists would use random forest, but the statisticians wouldn't, and the bioinformaticians wouldn't, and the econometricians wouldn't. But the really powerful thing that Kaggle did was showed everybody what the best technique was, right? And that was probably the best, the first thing that Kaggle really helped to bring to the world is to bring all these different disciplines together and show the different disciplines that they all are working on quite similar problems, all using different techniques, and what the best technique was. It certainly was the case. You asked for some issues early in Kaggle's life. It was certainly difficult. We started a little bit too early in that there wasn't a recognition of how powerful data science could be. But I also think it's good that we started too early, because if we had started later, then many people would have been pursuing the same idea. Because we started too early, we were able to build up a very large community, because we had the beginnings even before data science really started to take off. And for those interested, I think it was really O'Reilly, the book publisher, that really helped popularize the term data science. They hosted their Strata conference in 2012, and that was the first time they brought sort of many different prominent people working in data together at that conference, and that conference really, I think, is how the word data science spread.
Yeah, got it. So like early to the game definitely gave you an advantage, and like definitely people are loving it, and that's the secret why Kaggle is such a loved platform amongst data science enthusiasts. So thanks for building that platform, and yeah. Because any platform we build, like you talked about, like you had been early to this game, and otherwise a lot of other people would have come, and might be the situation would have been different a little bit. But let's say like any platform grows with the help of community around it, right? Like a lot of people coming together, and like at that time you started, and a little folks, like you told, like bioinformaticians and statisticians were doing certain things which are kind of related to data and certain types. So how did you scaled up the presence of Kaggle amongst data science communities, or how did you make more and more data science folks understand that this is the true potential, or this is the platform which you should at least view and at least see that this is something which can help you in your career, which can help you to understand or learn things better?
Yeah. Um, so the most difficult thing very early on was getting anybody to sign up, right? So I used to create the competitions myself, and then I would email basically anybody who had a blog about statistics or econometrics or anything related to data. I would email them and I would ask them if they would write about my website, Kaggle, and that was how the first competition had 20 participants, and that's how it had 20, is because maybe 5 or 6 people who were blogging about data science wrote about the platform, or not data science, statistics, or whatever it was called at the time. So that was how we got uh, the first 20 participants, and then they liked it. They liked the first competition they competed in, and so the second one we had 100 participants, and then the third one, or maybe it was 70, maybe not 100, and then the third one had a bit more, and the fourth one had a bit more, and so I think the getting the participants for the first competition was very hard, and it took a lot of. I probably emailed 50 people who had statistics blogs. Like, really had to work very hard to get the first, you know, 20 participants. But because they liked it, they told their friends about it, and so that was how Kaggle was able to grow. And it's pretty amazing. Like, we just passed 7 million members, and I think a lot of it is that people learn a lot from the time they spend on Kaggle. They meet people, they make friends, they meet people, they get jobs based on their Kaggle credential, and so that makes Kaggle an attractive place to spend time. And so I think so people tell their friends, and that's I think mostly how Kaggle has been able to grow.
Definitely, definitely. The people started understanding the benefits. Like, initial journey has been a little bit tough, but once things started falling into place,
Yeah,
like it's now 7 million people. So that's great. Like, congratulations for the same to you and the entire team. Like, really good work and really helping us to explore these things. And even like you told about that how employers or people can get certain like edge above others when they can showcase their Kaggle profiles, that these are the things that I participated, or these are the things I did. So like as you also told about the growth of platform, like from 20 people at the first place, then a little more, and then growing up to 7 million. So you now see that a lot of people are receiving the participation, or receiving the participation of folks in Kaggle as kind of indicator in hiring process too, right? Because they kind of give significance. So how have you yourself seen this happening in data science employments? And like a lot of folks, like even I and other folks who are on Kaggle and other platforms, they definitely have got advantage using Kaggle because a lot of employers give significance. So how have you seen like a lot employments, and kind of you have done certain reports, surveys on top of that? So how has been the acceptance of Kaggle by employers increased over years?
yeah. I would say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, companies started using Kaggle to recruit, maybe even a little bit longer than that. The first company I was aware was a fintech company called Zest Finance. They hired a lot of strong Kagglers. Um, and actually, I don't know if you know know him, but Boyan Tungas used to work for Zest, and he's an interesting one to follow because he has worked for a lot of the companies that hire the top Kagglers. So the second place he worked is H2O, which is another company that hires a lot, maybe has 15 or so Kaggle Grandmasters, and now he's currently at NVIDIA, and NVIDIA have a team they call them the Kagamons, like like Pokemon. The CEO of NVIDIA called them the Kagamon team, named after Pokemon, and so there are companies like that have teams of grandmasters, H2O and Nvidia, being quite prominent. Even beyond that, though, I think we've seen a couple of Kaggle grandmasters get jobs at DeepMind, for instance. There's a lot of companies now that Airbnb, it's and places like that. There are a lot of companies now that will see their Kaggle Master or Grandmaster credential, and they will be quite excited about that, and that will often be a way for somebody. Not everybody can have a Stanford or an MIT or an IIT degree, right? But there are a lot of smart people who don't have an IIT or a Stanford or an MIT degree, and Kaggle is very good at giving those people an opportunity, right? It's not an admissions panel that lets you into Kaggle, but it's your own performance that
Yeah,
dictates
exactly.
how you do, and I think it's very nice.
It's like giving all of them an equal opportunity around growing and to showcase their skills. Like, the more you are skilled, the more your presence amongst employers grow. So that's definitely a very, very strong comments around Kaggle. So, what are some of the significant trends that you have been seeing on the platform? Because we recently saw that you also posted like what most of the people do on platform, like downloading data sets and kind of stuff. So, any views or anything you want to share around that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different views. Kaggle sees a lot of what works in pragmatic machine learning, right? So I think I said in the 2010 era, most of the competitions were won by random forest, and then Tianqi Chen from the University of Washington created XGBoost, and XGBoost started taking over from random forest. And then, actually, this is a nice story. In 2012, Jeff Hinton and George Dahl won a competition um, hosted by Merck using deep neural networks. That was the first time that deep learning had appeared on Kaggle. And then in 2015, Francois Chollet created Keras, which made deep learning accessible to many, many more people in the Kaggle community. Actually, a fun aside, Jeff Hinton has competed in one competition and he won it, the Merck one, but he's still listed as a novice because he hasn't done, the discussion and the
Exactly.
notebooks, and so I don't think he should be listed as a novice. Um, um,
Yeah.
and then as time's gone on, lots of clever tricks have been UNet for image segmentation. That was originally used in medical imaging, and I think thanks to Kaggle, it started to spread as a good technique for overall segmentation. So I think there's lots and lots of examples of techniques. Things don't get invented on Kaggle, but they get spread. So that's one way to track kind of developments over time is what wins competitions. I think it's very hard to keep up with academic papers, and every academic paper you read says you should use my method, it's the best. I tested against these other methods, and then the next paper says that too, and then the next paper says that too. And so one very nice thing about machine learning competitions is you can objectively see what wins, right? And you can try the problem yourself and then see what the winners did, and then learn from what the winners did, and then try that in the next competition. And so I think it's my view is, at least for the kinds of challenges we do, like supervised machine learning challenges, it's a very, very good way to stay up with what's happening at the cutting edge. Then beyond the competitions, in 2015, we launched what is now Kaggle's notebook product, and that has grown over time, and that's become quite popular. And then we also have the most popular part of Kaggle is the public data platform, where anyone can share any data set with each other. And I think a couple of reasons it's become popular. Finding data sets can take a lot of time, and so here you have a very, very large repository of data sets, and I think a lot of people find it convenient. And then another reason I think that data sets have done so well is it takes a lot of time to be able to compete at a high level in a competition, whereas the data sets, there isn't the pressure of a competition. You don't need the amount of time that you need for a competition. So that I think is why the data sets have ended up being very popular.
Yeah, got it. So like journey has been like quite good, like you talked about how Kaggle's initiatives around like notebooks and then data sets came, right? And when we talk about these initiatives, these have been definitely helpful for folks who are trying to enter data science or trying to get data sets, right? Because otherwise it was very tough to collect the data or to get the data, like be it for personal projects, be it for certain other projects. It definitely made like the life of a certain data science aspirants very easy to start with. And like we also saw that Kaggle recently like launched a survey, like, right, because of which we saw that India has a lot of Kagglers on the platform and kind of stuff. So like how do you see India as a India as a country on Kaggle as a platform?
I actually think now India is number one.
Yeah.
When Kaggle first started, Australia was number one. Not because Australia is a data science powerhouse, but that's where Kaggle started. And then the US took over, and think it's relatively recent that India has taken over from the US, and so maybe India ends up uh, being the world's data science powerhouse. Certainly have good universities and amazing talent. The wonderful grandmasters like SRK and Parul Pandey and Ruchi Bhatia, to name a few. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean it's part of me is sad that being Australian, that Australia keeps falling down the ranks. Uh, but no, it certainly seems to be the case that India is becoming very, very strong uh, on Kaggle and in data science more generally. And actually, it's a little bit sad with the pandemic. I had intended to come and do a trip to India to meet some of the Kaggle community. I've never been before, and it's such an important country for us. So I very much look forward to the pandemic ending, and maybe I can come and speak live at this meetup group. It would be very nice to
Yeah.
meet the people in this meetup group in person.
Yeah, we definitely look forward to that, and we would love to definitely host you one of our physical meetups. And thanks for that. And we definitely think that India might be a data science powerhouse, and that's why we just started this community, right? Like, we are the first data science, like, Kaggle Days meetup community in India, which started in Delhi NCR. So we are progressing well, and we are just trying to boost that up so that more and more people come and understand and participate more and more, so that they learn data science better and faster, right? Like 10 years down the line, maybe they can have certain strength on certain topics, that these are the things that I learned from certain communities from Kaggle. These are my strengths, right? So, like, yeah, I talked about a lot of things, like how Kaggle started, the name, and quite interesting journey, right? So thanks for sharing all those things. I would love to close this session with a single question, like, how do we, like, we definitely have added a lot of values to community, right? Like, a lot of products, a lot of initiatives taken by the Kaggle team. So how do we plan to add more values to the community members learning? Because there is never an end to the innovation that we can have on Kaggle, right? Like, this platform is kind of open. Like, we can definitely have a lot of changes or a lot of things which can come up on Kaggle as a platform, which can help the community members learn, right? So any more additional pointers that you would love to share, or anything that's not used much by the people, but that's the feature on Kaggle which they can use and benefit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll share two things that we are exploring at the moment that I hope that we end up building that I think will be exciting and increase the learning opportunities for the community. The first one is self-service competitions, the ability for anybody to host a competition on Kaggle. And we have this a little bit with Kaggle in class, but I think exploring the idea of investing a little bit more in that. And the reason I think that's exciting is, a lot of people complain that we have too many image recognition problems and not enough tabular data. And we have a few challenges. One is we only have a small team preparing the challenges, and secondly, we don't make them up ourselves, but rather we get brought challenges by our customers. But the idea is that if we can start to have self-service competitions, then the community itself can start to create competitions, and so we can have a much, much, much wider range of options, and more learning opportunities. So if a community member is particularly interested in learning tabular data sets or natural language processing or very large data or very small data, the idea is that if we can have these self-service competitions and have the community host high-quality competitions, it will increase the number of learning opportunities. That's one that I'm excited about. The other is we're in the early stages of exploring, but I'd love the opportunity for the Kaggle community a lot of people share data sets on Kaggle. We've been in the early stages of exploring giving community members the opportunity to sell data sets through Kaggle. And I love the idea of people being able to earn their full-time income from spending time on Kaggle, which would be, it's something we have never achieved. We always wanted to achieve it with competitions, but it's quite hard with competitions. We don't run very many. There are lots of people in them. Even if you're very, very, very good, you can't rely on always winning the competition, and so you can't rely on it necessarily for an income. But I've always loved the idea that people would not only be able to learn off Kaggle and get jobs off Kaggle, but actually earn an income off Kaggle. So I can't promise that we will do those things, but we are exploring them, and there are a few things that we're thinking about that I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for sharing those things with us, and we are definitely excited about getting more and more things, more and more opportunities from Kaggle to learn and to explore better. So, just closing the event, like a last ending notes, maybe from you. Like you see, a lot of folks are entering data science these days, right? Like a lot of people are coming into data science. They're exploring data science. So, any specific suggestions, any specific tips to stay focused? And data science like might be the best domain, but definitely they should be careful about certain things or certain tips that they should keep in mind before starting this domain.
Yeah, we heard a really wonderful quote from a Kaggle Master recently, which is you learn more when you do. And I think it's a wonderful quote. And so the thing that I always encourage, one sad thing that sometimes happens with people when they participate on Kaggle or they sign up to Kaggle, is they feel intimidated. All these, everyone is so smart and I don't know much and I'm not going to enter the competition. And I think that is a problem because if you never enter, you never learn, you never do, so you never learn. And I think it's okay to have very bad results when you start, right? You should just try little by little to get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And one tip that was once shared with me from somebody who, started not very strong on Kaggle and really rose through the ranks is what they would try and do is they would try and put in one submission each day. And the first one would be hopeless. Maybe it's a binary prediction problem and they predict everything is true, right? There's not even an algorithm. And then the second day, they try and improve a little bit on that. Maybe they have an if then else statement. If this feature is this, then true. If this feature is not true, then false. And so it's a little bit better. And then maybe the third day, they try and train their first random forest or some simple model. And then the fourth day they might do and some feature engineering for the random forest. And then the fifth day they try XGBoost. I don't know, I'm just giving you an example, like little by little. Don't worry about the leaderboard score, but just don't worry about the position, but try and get a little bit better on your own score every day. And you'll find that in 10 days, you've got a little bit better. In 100 days, you've gotten a lot better. In 1,000 days, you're one of the best in the world. Is how it works. So that is my number one advice. Don't get trapped into thinking you're not good enough, but keep pushing through and just get little by little by little better. And over a decent period of time, you'll find that you've really improved and you know a lot, and you'll be very proud.
Yeah, that's a super solid advice. Like start simple, but just be consistent with your efforts, and you will be definitely be there where you want to be. So thanks, Anthony, for joining. And it was definitely a great honor for us to host you at a second anniversary event by Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR. We really appreciate your presence, and we really look forward to host you in a physical meetup
Yeah,
soon.
me
So
too.
like yeah, before ending the session, I would just like share the summarized achievements of Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR. So we in 2 years of Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR's journey, we are thankful to the community members for helping us conduct 49 events, and we also invited 100 guests along with 3,000 plus people registered to attend our events. Thanks to all of you for registering for all our free events and getting us 13,800 plus views in just 1 year of our events. And I thank 27 people who volunteered to keep this community running so that others can learn. And thanks to all the followers on the community's LinkedIn page and on community's Telegram group. And we also supported certain hackathons, conferences, and we do plan to support all of them as we go, so that the community starts growing, and we can learn and we can progress better. So thanks, Anthony, for joining us today. And we know it's late in San Francisco. Thanks for joining, and stay safe. Bye bye.
I would love to join the Telegram group. How do I join?
Yeah, sure. I will just send you the link to the Telegram group. Okay.
Very good. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone, and
Yeah. Thank you.
congratulations on a wonderful meetup. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.